Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Real Estate Private Equity Academy. I'm your host, 𝗖𝗣𝗜 Benesocky, and I'm joined by my co-host, 𝗖𝗣𝗜 Biniaz. We have another great show for you today. If you could please like and subscribe, as it helps us build our channel and allows us to keep bringing you great content and expert guest speakers. Now, our mission is to empower investors to earn passive income through real estate investing. Today, you guys, we have a great guest. We're joined by JG Francoeur. JG is the international best-selling author of Messy Manager and has written hundreds of articles for international business publications. A serial entrepreneur, JG has built several companies from startup to 10 figures. JG was born and raised in Northern Ontario with humble beginnings. He is a self-made entrepreneur who started with nothing and now has an extensive property investment portfolio. So August and I believe this interview with JG will bring great value to passive investors looking to scale their portfolio and investments, but also for active investors looking to learn how sales and marketing could 2x their sales and 3x their profits. So thanks for being here today, JG. Welcome.
It's my absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. And just a quick thing, I don't know, first of all, I hope I can live up to that introduction. But secondly, I'm not sure where, I know where you got the introduction, but I built companies to 8 figures, not 10 figures. I wish 10 figures would be, pretty amazing, but 8 figures isn't too shabby.
Well, 8 figures sounds pretty amazing too. So thanks for clarifying that. So we were just going to say, like, JG, you have tremendous background and we can't wait to learn more about you. So we're excited for the conversation, but if you could just start off by telling us about your background and then your start in real estate, please.
Well, it's a great place to start. And really, my story is traditional and then not so traditional in the sense that, I'm from Northern Ontario, a place called Timmins, Ontario, and I'm French Canadian. JG is short for Jean-Guy. I grew up very traditional, played hockey, went to school, parents had normal jobs, lived paycheck to paycheck, played street hockey, all that various stuff that, kids did when I was growing up in the 80s. And then essentially after I went to college, then something really clicked for me and I fell in love with business and I fell in love with this concept of creating financial security, financial certainty, and financial freedom. And I didn't quite know how I was going to get there, but I knew I was going to get there. I knew where my vision was and I knew where I wanted to go. The exact steps, I wasn't quite sure. And I figured out it would take quite a bit to get there. But so after I left college, I then went to university, and university was very, very eye-opening, and it was completely disheartening. And I was shocked by my experience in the university system, and I ended up leaving. I ended up leaving in my last semester before graduating with a Bachelor of Commerce. I left. I was sick and tired of it, and I started my first company. So I did, the classic, entrepreneur leaves university to start his first company. And that's exactly what I did. So I started almost 20 years ago now. And essentially I've never had a job, I had jobs when I was in high school and those kind of regular things, but I've never had a career job where I worked at a particular place. I started my first company and that snowballed from company to company to company. In the end, I built and sold 6 different companies. But it was about 10 years ago, 10 years into my journey, and about 10 years ago that I thought, oh my gosh, this concept of building a successful business is awesome on paper, but my gosh, is it difficult to execute on? And especially what's very difficult to execute on. Building it, I was actually pretty good at building them, but what was very difficult to execute on was exiting them. And that was because I found that to be so challenging. I thought to myself, I need to find an asset that I can exit better. I can exit, more easily. And that's actually what brought me to real estate. That's actually what brought me to real estate was that there was this model, and I don't tell this story often, so it's great that we talk about this, but there was this game played called real estate, and there were rules to this game, and I could enter and I could exit relatively easily. The management and the operation of the business of real estate, I knew I'd be pretty good at that because I was a good entrepreneur and I had done things well, but there was rules to enter and rules to exit. You need 10% down, or you need 20% down, or you need 30% down. You need a certain amount of cash. And when you want to exit, there's actually a market to purchase what you want to exit from. You can't say that with small business ownership. You might build a phenomenal business for 20, 30, 40 years of your life. And then when you want to go to sell it, there may be nobody there to buy it. That happens every single day. And I had experienced that as a young man. I did not want that to be, I didn't want to hinge my financial future on that. So that's actually what brought me to real estate 10 years ago. And, even though I knew absolutely nothing about investing in real estate, I joined this incredible company called the Real Estate Investment Network as a member, as a client. And I learned from the giants that came before me. And then I founded my next company called 𝗖𝗣 Property Group, which led to 𝗖𝗣 Property Management, which led to 𝗖𝗣 Construction, and the rest is history.
Awesome. Are we going to get into a lot of those points, particularly Rain, in a moment here?
Yeah. But I wanted to let's talk about building a company, and let's discuss business growth. As you have great experience in this space, but we have been growing and building CPI Capital for about 2 years now, and can personally attest to how difficult it is to build a company. I mean, from the ground up. So the ups and the downs and the rounds and everything else. But maybe you could tell our audience about your experience in building companies from the ground up, and also if you could provide a crash course in a few minutes on the best practices when starting a company from startup. Maybe you can have an emphasis on systems. As we know, like, to have a great company, systems are like key.
Yeah, so I wrote a book, I tracked my journey, and I wrote a book called Messy Manager, which I used to sell in 14 different countries. Nowadays, I just give it away for free. It's kind of my, my gift to the world. So, when it comes to building a business, it is a long road, and it is certain, even if it happens to be an overnight success. You hear about these overnight success, which every entrepreneur knows those overnight successes take 10, 15, 20 years to achieve. They appear like overnight successes, but they're really not. And so the point to that is you hear from experts, and you hear from the giants that came before us, that they say you have to follow your passion. You have to love what you do. You have to tap dance to work. These sayings are not said for nothing. I mean, they are 100% true, because it is not easy to build your own business. It's not easy to build any business. So you have to love it. You have to be prepared to get punched in the face constantly and repeatedly, and get up and love it and say, I want more of that, please. And not only that, you have to be willing to pay to get punched in the face, because you have to invest your own money. You have to be willing. Right. And this is what it's like to be an entrepreneur. And for some people, they love it. And for some people, there's no other way. But I will say, Ava and August, and this is important, not everyone's meant to be an entrepreneur, and not everybody deserves to have a business. And that's just that is a fact, that some people are better off getting a job, doing what they want to do, and just, following their other passions. Being an entrepreneur is not for everybody, and it's definitely something that takes a lot of grit and a lot of passion. And so that's kind of, that's the starting point of anything. And then the other, from that point forward, that passion has to carry you through. But then you have to be great at execution. You have to be great at management. You have to become. There's only one skill that you must be phenomenal at to be great at business, which is sales and marketing.
Absolutely. And that's my next question here. I want to get into sales and marketing. Is there anything else you want to add there before we go into? My shortest seminar is 2.5 days on the topic, so I can speak all weekend about it.
Nice.
I'll make a quick point before we get into the next question. And I want to talk about kind of the entrepreneurship world. Everybody sees it and it seems so glamorous, but there's something called a survivorship bias, where you only see the success of the winners. You don't see so many thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of businesses that have failed. For these businesses who've done well, the kind of the success stories to kind of appear that they've done great. But awesome. So on that topic of marketing, so let's discuss sales and marketing.
Yes,
when we started CPI Capital, we thought we were getting into the real estate investment firm. We thought we were starting a real estate investment firm with 95% of our focus being on acquisition and management. Then we realized our asset manager was taking care of acquisitions and presenting us with deals they vetted. And they send us reports on the management, and we're like, okay, our asset manager has been in business, doing what he's been doing longer than Ava has been alive. So, so we noticed that part of the business was being handled by the right person we got on the bus. But we also noticed that we got to continuously raise capital for this business so we can continuously buy more assets and keep repeating the same business model. And we realized that to be able to raise capital, we have to create content and for people to notice us and our investment product. So we understood early on the importance of sales and marketing in our business, that the service didn't seem like, you need sales and marketing. Mm-hmm. So talk to us about the importance of sales and marketing for real estate investment firms in particular, if you may, please.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a loaded question, but every business, the way I sort businesses at the outset, when I first learn about a business and I'm looking at it, whether I'm looking to buy that business or start that business or whatever, a business will either slant towards a sales and marketing driven business, or it will slant towards a labor business. But that's typically the hedgehog of any business, is either in one of those two directions. It's either going to be, you're going to have to become great at sales and marketing, or you're going to have to be phenomenal at labor relations, management, hiring, firing, systems, all that various stuff. It's typically one or the other. All of the businesses that I've started, not all, but most of the businesses that I start, I always go towards the sales and marketing side because that happens to be my skill. And that's really, at the end of the day, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an owner, I'm an executive, but really my trade, if you will, is sales and marketing. If I had to roll up my sleeve and do stuff this afternoon, I would be writing sales emails, I'd be writing web copy, I'd be writing advertising, I'd be talking about presentations, I'd be talking about essentially communications in order to for my various companies to communicate their value to the world. So sales and marketing is a huge topic. It's an absolutely massive topic, and it's changed so much in the last 20 years since I've started. It's been absolutely incredible. And I got to say that I've ridden that wave of digital marketing and how that's come about. When I started in business 20 years ago in 2003, 2004, Google PPC didn't exist. Facebook wasn't even invented yet. The concept of an email campaign was brand spanking new. In 2006, I was one of the first people that was on Constant Contacts. I was one of their first customers, creating an email to my database. The concept of database marketing, none of this stuff existed back then. If you guys may recall, that the big marketing strategy for year 2000 was to call your business AAA capital so that your yellow page listing was at the top of the yellow pages. Remember that? That was strategy, 101. So it's changed so much in terms of sales and marketing and where to go today. Today, it's all about technology. It's all about marketing automation today. And you could do so much more with sales and marketing today than you used to be able to. You can literally run a multi-million-dollar company with good marketing systems and essentially very few marketing staff. It's very, very technology driven these days, which is fantastic. I love that. And anytime we can automate and create intelligence and artificial intelligence and put it into technology to help us do better, I think we should, take that all day long. So sales and marketing is critical. And it's a skill that if anybody on here is listening and they're thinking about being an entrepreneur, it's a skill and it's an art and it's a science. It's both an art and a science that will continue to give forever. It is like the skills and the art and everything you both have learned to build CPI Capital will continue to give for until the end of your life.
Let me touch on that. Let me touch on the giving part, because a byproduct of the brand we built wasn't only on the client acquisition side of it, was also on the deal flow. Because as we had built this brand, a lot of operators, a lot of brokers, a lot of sponsors started sending us deals because the impression was that we were this Goliath of the company and we had just started it, and there was a lot of deals coming our way. So maybe you can touch on some other byproducts of building a great brand aside from client acquisition that could be beneficial. Maybe also great employees who want to join this company that has a great brand.
I was just going to say, I one of the companies I own is a company called Remy 360. It's a marketing and ads agency. And we have clients all around the world. And one of our clients was actually just totally sold out in terms of clients. They did not need more clients, but they were running out of great employees and they needed to recruit. So they mentioned to me in a meeting, and I said, well, listen, recruiting people think that's an HR function. That's not an HR function. That's a sales and marketing function. It's the exact same as recruiting clients. You're just recruiting a different client. You're trying to recruit an employee or a contractor. You're trying to recruit some labor instead of recruiting a client. So we followed the same process we always follow, and we ended up doubling the size of our team in a really short period of time because we applied sales and marketing first principles to the labor market and to HR problems. So, awesome. This is all a part of what you're talking about here, August.
Genius.
That's awesome.
Genius. All right.
And that's the thing. If you're trying to build a company and you're not very good at sales and marketing, it's who not how. And you call up JG and you say, hey, Remy 360, come help us out because we want to build a powerhouse.
That would be our advice. If we went back and we had an opportunity, we would have definitely brought on a sales and marketing team because it was blood, sweat, and tears.
It'll save you a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
That's a key lesson that a lot of people don't understand is if you don't have that sales and marketing skill yourself, then that's okay. But you either have to acquire it yourself, or you have to acquire it somehow. You need it. So you need to either acquire it in a partner, like you can go find a partner who will be a great sales and marketer, or you can go find employees, or you can outsource it to a company. I mean, there are several different ways of doing it. But if you think you're going to start a business and not be great at sales and marketing, you're fooling yourself. This concept of build a better mousetrap and they will come. There's nothing, that's just a load of bullshit. It doesn't work. I've tried it many times and built many great mousetraps. You got to be good at sales and marketing. In fact, if you look throughout history, you will see many, many, many times where an inferior product wins out with better sales and marketing than a superior product without good sales and marketing. Sales and marketing is the hedgehog. It is the thing that works.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And talking about, so that's 100%. But next thing I wanted to chat on is talking about great companies. Why don't we jump into discussing REIN, the Real Estate Investment Network? If you can just, describe what is REIN and who do you help and how can people get connected?
So REIN, REIN, the Real Estate Investment Network, has been a network and an incredible company. Been around for 30 years. Was invented when I was just a little guy, and REIN has been an incredible company. And essentially, REIN helps investors and people that want to become real estate investors. Now, whether they want to become active investors, passive investors, the point is, if you want to understand the real estate investment market, if you want to put your money to work through the real estate investment market, you've got to become associated with the Real Estate Investment Network. The company has helped just under 200,000 investors over the last 30 years. So incredible pedigree and can help in essentially every way possible. REIN at its core is actually a research and education company. That's what REIN does. It does real estate research and it educates real estate investors. And it does it through events. It does it through a community. It does it through a variety of ways, a program called All Access Mentorship. So there's many different ways people can access REIN. You can just come to one of the events. You can become a full-blown member. You can just get the research. There's a variety of ways REIN can help real estate investors. But at the end of the day, REIN is a network. You have to think about REIN, the Real Estate Investment Network, as an ecosystem. The same way when your phone dies, you plug it into the wall to get juice in order to recharge your phone. Think of that, but for real estate investors. And this community is coast to coast, shoreline to shoreline. And I joined the organization as a member in, like I said, it's been over 10 years now, I'm sure. And that's because I didn't know anything about real estate investing. So I needed to learn everything from the ground up. So I learned the 15 steps to real estate success. I learned things like how to do renovations, how to do fix and flip. I learned all of that theory at the Real Estate Investment Network. And then the beautiful thing about REIN is you combine not only this education and this theory and this knowledge, but you combine it with trusted partners. You combine it with a community. You combine it with people that are doing it in the trenches. So you get to see how everyone's doing it. And then you're in the game yourself. So at that point, it's all about taking action. And then in 2018, I ended up selling one of my companies that used to operate in 14 different countries. I freed up a lot of time. All of a sudden, I went from a busy executive running an 8-figure business with 176 employees in 14 different countries. And I sold that business and I had a lot of time on my hands, and the Real Estate Investment Network and I got together and I said, listen, I've learned a lot. Everything I've learned, everything I've done in real estate is because of Rain, everything. And so I want to give back now to the community. So I became the chief growth officer for the company. And now I spend my days educating other investors and hopefully passing on some amazing knowledge that I learned and executed on over the years.
Amazing. I have a personal experience with Rain as well. I've attended many of their events. Currently, CPI Capital is a trusted partner with Rain. But one more item to add as far as the benefits. Myself, I cut my teeth in real estate, starting as a licensed agent 16 years ago and moving my way up to now managing a real estate private equity firm. But the advice is 100%. If you're involved in real estate, joining a group like Rain is extremely advantageous. Also, if you're not in real estate and you want to learn more about this asset class, is great to join. But other than the items that JG mentioned, is also the tribe. You become part of this tribe. You get to know these people. You can call them ask questions, ask them about the journey they've been on, or
do things the right way. Do things the right way because you have the people who have had the experience.
Well, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're a business owner, if you're an investor, what you're trying to do, you only have two choices. You're either going to learn from your own mistakes or you're going to learn from someone else's mistakes. And that's actually why I joined Rain early on, because luckily I had learned enough to know I'm going to make mistakes. I'm either going to learn from someone else's mistakes and save that time and save that money, or I'm going to make the mistakes and then it'll cost me more time and cost me more money. So I was able to achieve in real estate things that took other people 30 years. I was able to achieve it in 3 years because I learned from those that came before me. And that's the power of a tribe, August. That's what you're saying. And I think you're absolutely right. And the other thing that really sets Rain apart, and this is the biggest thing, is everything we do is unbiased. We don't sell real estate. We don't sell $30,000 coaching programs. It's completely unbiased. Everything we put out, our research, whether someone buys real estate, doesn't buy real estate, we don't really care. We can only judge our success by their success. So that's why we're completely unbiased. And we just want to support people in their journey.
And you don't have an agenda. I've noticed with lots of other groups out there that have educational platforms, including us, there is a bit of agenda there, right? We create all this content, we educate investors, hoping that if they want to invest in our asset class, they would choose us as one of those operators. That's not the case with you guys. You guys don't have an agenda. Is very focused on education. That's what I love about Rain for a long time. But talking about investing, talking about asset classes, talking about your personal investments, you invest in real estate yourself personally, brings us to the next question here.
Yeah, we'd love to change the conversation to our favorite asset class, multifamily. We dedicated our lives to multifamily, and we have a question for you, JG. Why multifamily, and what is your current level of involvement in this sector?
Well, I think multifamily, first of all, has shown time and time again to be the #1 performing asset class out there over and over and over again. And I'm not talking about the last couple of years. I'm talking about the last couple 100 years. It constantly is the best performing asset class. It is phenomenal. And there's a couple of reasons for it. #1, you're really taking advantage of economies of scale in a very, very big way. In terms of asset classes, my involvement with multifamily, I'm doing more and more multifamily nowadays than I ever have. So I would call small scale multifamily, not the size of deals that you guys are doing, because it's just not the space I want to play in, because it's not that doesn't line up with my ultimate exit plan. And I think that's probably one of the most important things people that play in this space have to ask themselves is what is my exit plan? Why am I doing this? One of the most important questions people can ask themselves, but don't ask themselves, is what do I want real estate to do for me? See, real estate is a tool. Real estate is a tactic. Real estate is there to achieve an objective. Well, most people don't even think about that. They just get caught up in real estate in general, but you really ought to sit back, grab a glass of wine or a beer or a scotch or a coffee or a tea, put on a piece of paper, what do I want real estate to do for me? And then fill that page with ideas of what you want real estate to do for you. And a lot of times you're going to line up that multifamily is an incredible asset class that'll deliver on all those things you want real estate to do for you. For me, it doesn't necessarily work out exactly like that. I like small scale multifamily, 5 doors, 10 doors, 8 doors. That's the game I play in, and that's the infrastructure I have set up. But multifamily, in terms of an asset class, is incredible. It's high performing, it's high yield, and the best part is it is relatively low risk when you compare it to other asset classes. And I love that about it. The biggest thing I would say, and this is a bit of a shameless plug for you guys, is you need, if you're going to do multifamily well, you have 2 choices. You're either going to become a multifamily expert yourself, and you're going to live it, breathe it, eat it, drink it, and get married to it, or you're going to partner with someone like CPI Capital and invest with them and let them do that work. Because you can't, the thing with multifamily is you can't dabble in multifamily. You can't dabble in it because it's too time consuming. It's an expensive asset class to fool around with. And I find those who dabble end up just wasting a lot of time and money, which is why I love to say either become an expert and get fully consumed by it, or partner up with someone that's great at it, someone who's doing something completely unique that no one else is doing. Just partner up with them, let them do the work, and you put your capital with them. And that's mostly how I invest in multifamily, is I let other people do the work because I'm busy doing the work on my other parts of my business.
Great. And talking about finding the right operator to partner with as a passive investor, this coming weekend, we're doing a talk on REIN, on one of REIN's large events, which we're going to be talking about how to vet an investment firm before investing with them. So this show will be live after the event, but just wanted to mention that. So make sure to come to a REIN event sometime in the future. It's a great place to be.
Now, JG, before moving on to the next segment of our show, could you tell us what advice do you have to a passive investor looking to start investing in real estate private equity?
It's actually very simple. Just do it.
Nice.
I think one of the biggest, I will say this about most real estate investors, but especially those that are looking for passive investments. And that is, real estate it's not about timing the real estate market. Everybody tries to, and they ask me this question all the time. Do you think it's going up? Do you think it's going down? Where do you think we are in the cycle? Where's it going to go? And they're asking me that question, not because they really care. They're asking me that question because they're trying to time the market. They think it's like the stock market and they're going to time it just right. They're going to catch just the bottom. Real estate doesn't work like that. This isn't about timing the market. It's about time in the market. And I'll give you a perfect example. In the last 2 years, we've seen the most incredible quote unquote bull run on real estate that we've seen in ever, especially in our 3 lifetimes for sure. It's been an unbelievable run in the last 2 years. And I've had a lot of people at the beginning of COVID ask me, what do you think I should do? Where do you think it's going? I said, listen, COVID is the first pandemic I've ever lived through. I don't know where it's going to go, but I know there's going to be some incredible opportunities. So you got to be ready and you got to be in the market. Don't try to time the market, just be in the market and ride the wave that's coming. And those same people are still asking themselves, where do you think it's going and when should I get in? You should have got in 2 years ago when I told you. And if you would have asked me 2 years before that, I would have said the same thing. So the point is that the most investors try to time the market. And that is a fatal mistake. It's a fatal mistake to try to time the market because you end up missing the runs. You end up waiting longer than you should. And quite frankly, and I've seen this way too often, most people never end up pulling the trigger because they're always waiting for that perfect move. And that move never shows up based on their thinking model or whatever the case may be. So as a result, that's why people should just do it, especially when you have a great partner like a CPI Capital, you're working with someone who's in it on a day-to-day basis. The average person isn't even close to in it on a day-to-day basis enough to be able to make these decisions anyways. What they're looking for is a great return on investment over the long haul. And if they know that and they want that, there's no better place to be than in this asset class.
Great advice.
Great advice. Just do it. That's awesome, JG. All right. Ready for the next segment of our show?
Absolutely.
The 10 championship rounds to financial freedom. So whatever comes top of mind, JG.
I'm ready.
Let's get started. All right. Number 1 question. Who is the most influential person in your life?
Right now?
Or ever?
Ever.
Yeah.
Really? Right now, ever, whatever that comes to your mind.
The most influential person in my life would have to be one of my old business partners who just passed away recently, Mr. Bob Proctor.
All right. All right. Okay, JG, what is the #1 book you'd recommend?
There's two of them. They kind of go together. I mean, they've had the biggest influence on my life and my business life. I'd say Good to Great is one of those books, and another book is called Blue Ocean Strategy, especially Blue Ocean Strategy. Two great, two phenomenal business books, but there are so many others. I read a lot.
Fantastic. Reading is great. Okay, next question. If you had the opportunity to travel back in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
Damn, that's a good question. I think I learned this lesson relatively early on, but yeah, I think you could always learn it earlier, which is, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And, you, as an entrepreneur, you quickly pick up on that. That's why I say, if you don't love getting punched in the face, don't become an entrepreneur, because the journey is getting punched in the face. Yes, you will eventually get to that destination you're shooting for, and that will, in terms of nice cars and vacations and traveling the world. And I've done all of these things. It's awesome, but you have to love the journey. If you don't love the journey, you won't get to the destination. And luckily I picked that up relatively early on, but I think it's something I wish I would have picked up even earlier.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. What is the best investment you've ever made?
The best investment anyone can ever make is the investment in themselves. And it really, I'd love to tell you, and I have lots of stories of investing, $500 and turning it into $500,000. And I got all these stories I could tell you of incredible investments, but really at the end of the day, the best investment was the one I made in myself. And that's an investment I continue to make today. I still am always asking myself, how can I grow? I truly believe if you're not growing, you're dying. So I'm always looking to grow myself. I'm always looking to innovate. I'm always looking to reinvent. I'm always looking to peel back the curtain and peel back the onion and see what else I could learn about myself. And so I think an investment in yourself is your best investment ever. That's
awesome. All right, now what's the worst investment you've ever made, and what lessons did you learn from it?
Let me think about that. From a dollars and cents perspective, probably the worst investment I ever made was my first company. And what lessons, in terms of the dollars and cents, it was, in fact, could have been arguably one of the best investments I made because it led to everything else. But in terms of dollars and cents, it was definitely one of the worst in terms of how much money I lost. But it was the price of education. And I learned, I fundamentally learned a lot of, fundamental errors I made, things I've tried, things that didn't work, and it really shaped a big part of who I am today. So I can't say it was a mistake, but dollars and cents wise, it wasn't good at all. And what mistakes, what did I learn from it is absolutely everything. And there's too many lessons to name just one, but it was an incredible learning experience, which has led me to develop the fundamental belief that almost everybody wants to figure stuff out sitting on the couch. They want to sit on the couch and they want to make plans, build businesses, do all these things, invest in real estate, but they're trying to do this stuff sitting on the couch, and none of that works. You cannot learn to swim sitting on the couch. You can't learn to swim on YouTube. You can't even learn to swim by watching someone else. You have to get your ass in the pool and do those strokes. And it's the same with entrepreneurship, and it's the same with real estate and investing. And it's the same with your career. If you want to be great at your job and have a great career and be a top performer, you have to be willing to get in the mud and get to work. And that looks differently for different people, but I definitely learned that on my first one. And even though there was a ton of mistakes made, it taught me that getting in the mud and getting dirty is okay. And you're going to make mistakes along the way, but that's all part of the process. And in the end, you're still going to win.
Nice.
Amazing.
Nice. All right, next question. How much would you need in the bank to retire today? What's your number?
That's another good question. So, okay, this opens up a whole door. So I hope this isn't a rapid fire round because it's going to take a few minutes to explain. But
Perfect.
there's a difference between financial freedom and financial independence. And people often confuse those two. They think they're the same, but they're not. Financial freedom is a state of mind. Financial independence is a state of finance. The question you're asking there, typically people interpret that as financially free. I was financially free long before I was financially independent, because it all starts in the mind in terms of financial freedom. And that's, you'll never get to financial independence if you don't first achieve financial freedom. And that is something everyone is in 100% control of, because financial freedom has nothing to do with money, has everything to do with your state of mind. So in terms of dollars and cents and how much would I need, I can only say that I would, because your question is how much cash would you need in the bank, right?
Yes.
I almost feel like it's a trick question, because as investors, we would never have cash in the bank. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It is a bit of a trick question.
Yeah.
On multiple levels, not only on the kind of inflationary issues, but also on people that really love their job, entrepreneurs. They don't want to retire. It has a retirement in the question. But
or another thing, just to kind of touch on it, is that people want to make smart investments to have a certain amount of cash flow coming in every month to live off that cash flow. So there's
a bunch
you
of
can take it
different
any
ways.
way you want.
Yes.
Well, I would, and that's, you know, that back to the point about financial freedom, is that's actually, you know, when I was really young in my early 20s, I defined financial freedom as doing what I want, when I want, with who I want. That's what I defined it as. And then I set out to achieve that. And I at the beginning put dollar figures on it and then quickly hit those dollar figures. So that wasn't a very big deal. But I can say that if whatever that means for you, financial freedom, you have to figure that out and structure your life around that. So I think that the question of retirement, the question of financial freedom, all of these questions that people ask themselves actually lead back to what I'm going to call having a life by design, which is making sure that you can, you know, live your life by design. You're not living someone else's life. You're living your life by design. And there's so many different factors to that. And a big part of that is loving what you do day in and day out. Today, one of the people I was talking to, it's funny, said, "Hey, it's hump day today." I said, "Oh, shit." He said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I don't like hump day." He said, "How come?" I said, "Well, it just means we're getting closer to Friday." And I'm more of a thank God it's Monday kind of guy, you know? So, and there's another saying I have, which is, you know, what day of the week is it, right? Like, you know, whether it's Saturday or Monday or Thursday, I mean, who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. If you're living for the weekends, then you got a problem and you have to change that.
Beautifully said.
Awesome.
Beautifully said.
Well said. All right, JG, if you could have dinner with someone dead or alive, who would it be?
Right now, given this, where we're at in the world and what's going on, I would like to have dinner with a couple people. Number one, and not in any particular order, but number one comes to mind is Elon Musk. Number two comes to mind is Ray Dalio. Number three that comes to mind is the guy who wrote the book, The Fourth Turning. And I forget the name of his book. I think it's Alan something. But the book, The Fourth Turning, I would definitely like to have dinner with him. So those are the three people that come to mind.
All right.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Now, if you weren't doing what you're doing today, what would you be doing now?
Yeah. I'd probably, I can't even envision anything. If I had to say anything, I'd probably be a Porsche race car driver.
Cool.
Nice.
All right. Okay.
And Porsche holds the record at Nürburgring, so they have some records all around the world. So it'd be a quick car that you have to. It's a hot seat to fill, man.
There's no better car in the world than Porsches.
All right, JG, book smarts or street smarts?
Oh, hands down, street smarts.
Okay.
Hands down. One thing we need in this world, one thing we need in this world, and I heard this the other day and I thought, my gosh, I got to remember that. I'm so glad I'm able to say it out loud. We need a lot less educated dumb people. There's way too many educated dumb people right now, and it's not helping.
All right.
Sure.
Last question. If you had $1 million cash and you had to make one investment today, what would it be?
Let me read that question again. It's very important you get it because you're a pretty sophisticated guy.
Yeah.
If you had $1 million cash and you had to make one investment today, what would it be? With an emphasis on all three of those.
My gosh, you guys like to get us thinking, eh? First thing comes to mind is like, why do I only have $1 million? Why am I being limited by $1 million? So I'll let me go this direction just to, and then we'll build into it. The first thing is that it's the thing that's hard to answer, and it's good for people that are listening to this because you always have to ask about, your game plan and your exit. Where are you heading? Because it's a different answer based on where you're heading in which particular direction, and so on and so forth. $1 million is a lot, but my first instinct is always to invest in myself. Always. I always invest internally before I invest externally. And that is something that's really, really key. You can't grow your portfolio without growing yourself. You can't grow your business without growing yourself. You can't grow anything without growing yourself. So when you ask that question, the first thing that comes to mind is I'd invested in myself. Now, $1 million is a lot to invest in myself. So I probably wouldn't need all that much to invest in myself, because a lot of times investing in yourself doesn't even need a lot of cash. It just needs time, effort, energy, and passion. So that's where I would go. But I'll tell you that I'll give you my answer for me, which is I would put that money into the supply of new properties, into specifically, because I'm a Canadian investor, I invest in Canada, the supply of Canadian property is where I would put it. Because I think that the future, the next 5, 10, and maybe more, maybe 20 plus years, is really with the supply of Canadian real estate. I think we have a huge problem in this country of we're undersupplied. We've been undersupplied for a very long time. All of the administration and the governments and everybody's in the way, and they need to get the hell out of the way and let the entrepreneurs do what the entrepreneurs do, which is solve problems, and let us solve this problem called housing affordability. And housing affordability is caused by housing supply shortages. And, let's keep bringing in all the people we're bringing into this country, but let's build some proper housing so we have a place to go. And if I had $1 million today, only $1 million, unfortunately, I'd like more. But if I only had $1 million, I'd definitely put it into supply if I had a long-term outlook, meaning, 10 years plus.
And when you say supply, are you talking about development project? Are you talking about entitlement? Are you talking about lobbying the government to allow it? Like where that is?
I can tell you I would 1000% not put it into lobbying the government, because there's no bigger waste of friggin' money than that. But I'm telling you, I'm saying development. I'm saying adding supply. I'm talking about densification projects. I'm talking about development projects. I'm talking about, anything that's going to add supply. If you take a single family home and make it a triplex, awesome. That's adding supply. If you take a piece of land that had a single family unit on it and you build a 5-story stacked townhome, perfect. That's adding supply. If you talk about buying 3 acres of land and putting 26 units, awesome. That's adding supply. I'm talking about development that's going to add supply and move us in the direction of solving our housing affordability problems.
Amazing. I have to share a quick story before we get off, because I think this is the most appropriate time in sharing the story. Is when the opportunity came up for CPI to become a trusted partner of REIN, I was very excited. We were being vetted and kind of learning more about REIN. REIN was learning more about us, and I was going through that process. I called up someone who's been a member of REIN for a long time, who's a good friend of mine. Yeah. And I asked them about REIN. Hey, this is the plan. And he's like, yeah, that's great. He's like, well, one thing I got to tell you, you got to try to get in touch with that JG guy. Get him on a call, get him in a room for an hour, because that guy is truly a brilliant mind. And he will, just the advice he will give you will probably be very helpful for your company. So today we got JG for an hour.
And
you know,
it was
and we got to
absolutely
pick his brain. So I just wanted to share that story.
Yeah. I remember you saying that, actually. I remember you saying
I don't know who that person is, but that's great. Thank you.
I'll send this video to him after we're done.
Yeah,
Perfect.
wealth of knowledge, JG. Last thing, can you just let everybody know, JG, what's the best way that they can reach you?
Yeah, so best way to reach me is if they go to the website 𝗖𝗣𝗜 𝗖manager.com. They can get a copy of my book there. They can read about my story there if they want. That's a good place to get a hold of me. I'm on social media. I got to say that for many years I was known as a social media guy because I'm a huge advocate of social media advertising, but I personally do not spend a lot of time on social media these days because it's so overwhelming with information, and it's just it takes me off my game of doing what I love to do, which is build my businesses and have this impact on the world. So the best place and the easiest way to get a hold of me is through the Real Estate Investment Network and all the various events we do there. I love connecting with investors. I love connecting with people. I love shaking hands, kissing babies. So any event through the Real Estate Investment Network, I do all of those events with Patrick Francoeur, my business partner and the CEO of the business. And they're always a great time. They're always educational. They're always fun. We try to make them as informative. They're definitely informative. We try to make them as funny as possible. And I got to say that sometimes people end up laughing at us instead of with us, but it doesn't matter. They're laughing. So that's the best place to get a hold of me.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Well, thanks for being such an incredible guest today.
Yeah,
JG.
thanks for being here today, sharing your knowledge, sharing your wisdom. Thank you.
It is my absolute pleasure, and I hope it made a difference to someone.